An evil shroud covers the world in darkness. You must restore the powers of earth, wind, fire, and water to the Four Orbs. Create your own band of 4 light warriors from fighters, thieves, martial artists, and magicians. You'll need all their skills to triumph in this massive role-playing adventure. Your treacherous journey takes you to all parts of a strange new world. Explore dangerous castles and dark caverns where deadly perils and great rewards await at every turn. Hundreds of ferocious monsters block your path. With patience, skill, and cunning, you can defeat them. In Final Fantasy. Yeah, we're finally getting to Final Fantasy. A joint little project here from Squaresoft and Nintendo, released in 1990. Available on a few other consoles as well. The NES, the MSX2, the WonderSwan Color, PlayStation, Game Boy Advance, mobile phones, the PSP, the Virtual Console, PlayStation Network, iOS, Windows, and Android phones. How about that? By the way, some of you may notice the names I've given these characters. Those are the names that were given to the characters in the Nintendo Power issue, which was devoted strictly to Final Fantasy. Role-playing game, obviously, created by Hironobu Sakaguchi, developed and first published in Japan by Square, which is now Square Enix. Moment of silence, please. In 1987, it is the first game in Square's Final Fantasy series. Originally released for the NES, Final Fantasy was remade for several video game consoles and is frequently packaged with Final Fantasy II in video game collections. The story follows 4 youths called the Light Warriors, who each carry one of their world's 4 elemental orbs, which have been darkened by the 4 elemental fiends. Together, they quest to defeat these evil forces, restore light to the orbs, and save their world. The game received generally positive reviews and is regarded as one of the most influential and successful role-playing games on the NES, playing a major role in popularizing the genre. Praise focused on the game's graphics, while criticism tagged the time spent wandering in search of random battle encounters to raise the player's experience level. By March 2003, all versions of Final Fantasy have sold a total of 2 million copies worldwide. The game has 4 basic gameplay modes: an overworld map, town and dungeons, battle screen, and menu screen. Overworld map is a scaled-down version of the game's fictional world in which the player uses we direct our characters to various locations. Primary means of travel is by foot, but a canoe, ship, and airship become available as the player progresses. With the exception of some battles in preset locations or with bosses, enemies are randomly encountered on field maps and on the overworld, while traveling by foot, canoe, or ship, and you must either fight or flee from them. The game's plot develops as the players progress through towns and dungeons. Some town citizens offer helpful information, while others own shops that sell items or equipment. Dungeons appear in areas that include forests, caves, mountains, swamps, underwater caverns, and buildings. Dungeons often have treasure chests containing rare items that are not available in most stores, and the game's menu screen allows the player to keep track of their experience points and levels, to choose which equipment they wield, and to use items and magic. A character's most basic attribute is their level, which can range from 1 to 50, and is determined by the character's amount of experience. Getting a level increases our attributes, such as maximum hit points, which represent a character's remaining health. A character dies when it reaches 0. Characters gain experience by winning battles. All pretty basic stuff. Combat is menu-based. We select an action from the list, such as fight, magic, and item. Battles are turn-based and continue until either side flees or is defeated. If the player's party wins, each character gains EXP and gold. If it flees, it is returned to the map screen. And if every character dies, game over. Final Fantasy was the first game to show the player's characters on the right side of the screen and enemies on the left, such as opposed to the first-person view we were getting with Dragon Warrior. Player begins the game by choosing 4 characters to form a party and is locked into that choice for the duration of the game. Each character has an occupation or class with different attributes and abilities that are either innate or can be acquired. The 6 classes are Fighter, Thief, Black Belt, Red Mage, White Mage, and Black Mage. Later in the game, we have the option to have each character undergo a class change, whereby their sprite portraits mature and some classes gain the ability to use weapon and magic that they previously could not use. The game contains a variety of weapons and armor and items that can be sold, bought, or found to make the characters more powerful in combat. Each character has 8 inventory slots with 4 to hold weapons and 4 to hold armor. Each character class has restrictions on what weapons and armor they can use. Some weapons and armor are magical, and if used during combat, will cast spells. Other items provide protection, such as from certain spells. At shops, the characters can buy items to help themselves recover while traveling, like potions, which heal a character or remove an ailment like poison or petrification. Tents and cabins, which can be used on the world map, heal the player and have an option to save the game, while houses also recover a party's magic after saving. Special items may be gained during quests. Magic is a common ability in the game, and several character classes can use it. Spells are divided into 2 groups: white, which is generally defensive and healing, and black, which is generally debilitating and destructive. There are exceptions to these rules. Magic can be bought from white and black magic shops and assigned to characters whose occupation allows them to use it. Spells are classified by a level between 1 and 8, while with 4 white and 4 black per level. Each character may learn only 3 spells per level. White and black mages can potentially learn any of their respective spells, while red mages, the ninja, and the knight cannot use most high-level magic. Final Fantasy takes place in a fantasy world with 3 large continents. The elemental powers on this world are determined by the state of 4 orbs, each governing one of the 4 classical elements: earth, fire, water, and wind. The world of Final Fantasy is inhabited by numerous races, including humans, elves, dwarves, mermaids, dragons, and robots. Most non-human races have only 1 town in the game, although individuals are sometimes found in human towns or other areas as well. 400 years prior to the start of the game, the Finnish people, who used the power of wind to craft airships and a giant space station called the Floating Castle in the game, watched their country decline as the wind orb went dark. 200 years later, a violent storm sank a massive shrine that served as a center of ocean-based civilization, and the water orb went dark. The earth orb and fire orb followed, plaguing the earth with raging wildfires and devastating the agricultural town of Melmond as plains and vegetation decayed. Sometime later, the sage Lucan tells of a prophecy that 4 light warriors will come to save the world in a time of darkness. The game begins with the appearance of the 4 youthful light warriors, our heroes, each carrying one of the orbs. Initially, the light warriors have access to the kingdom of Corneria and the ruined Temple of Fiends. After we rescue Princess Sarah from the evil knight Garland, the king builds us a bridge that lets us continue passage east to the town of Provoca. There we battle some pirates and liberate the town and take their ship. Pretty exciting. Final Fantasy was developed by a team of 7 staff members within Square, referred to as the A-Team. Though often attributed to the company allegedly having been threatened with bankruptcy in 1987, main planner Hironobu Sakaguchi explained that the title of the game stemmed from his personal situation. Had the game not sold well, he would have quit the game industry and gone back to university. His concept for Final Fantasy involved a large world map to explore and an engaging story. Sakaguchi took an in-development ROM of the game to the Japanese magazine Family Computer, but it would not review it. Video game magazine Famitsu, however, gave the game extensive coverage. Only 200,000 copies were to be shipped, but Sakaguchi pleaded with the company to make 400,000 to help spawn a sequel, and the management agreed. The game's characters and title logo were designed by Yoshitaka Amano, and the scenario was written by freelance writer Kenji Terada, based on the story by Sakaguchi. Iranian-American freelance programmer Nasser Gabelli, who was living in Japan at the time, worked as the programmer for the game. And you'll see the Nasser appear in the credits. Among other developers were designers, Hiromichi Tanaka, Akitoshi Kawazu, and Koichi Ishii, as well as the graphic designer Kazuko Shibuya, and programmers Kiyoshi Ayoshi and Ken Narita. Following the successful North American localization of Dragon Quest, Nintendo of America translated Final Fantasy into English and published it in North America in 1990. The North American version of Final Fantasy was met with modest success, partly due to Nintendo's then aggressive marketing tactics. No version of the game was marketed in the PAL region until Final Fantasy Origins in 2003. The music for Final Fantasy was composed by Nobu Uematsu and was his 16th video game music composition. The soundtrack album was released together with a score of Final Fantasy II in 1989. Some of the game tracks became mainstays to the Final Fantasy series, including the Prelude, which is the arpeggio played on the title screen, the opening theme, which is played when the party crosses the bridge early in the game, and is later referred to as the Final Fantasy theme, and the Victory fanfare, which is played after every victorious battle. The opening motif of the battle has also been reused a number of times in the series. Final Fantasy has been remade several times for different platforms and has frequently been packaged with Final Fantasy II. While all of these remakes retain the same basic story mechanics, various tweaks have been made in different areas, including graphics, sound, and specific game elements. We've got the Famicom version published by Square. That's our original. We've got Final Fantasy for the MSX2, which is published by Micro Cabin, which had some graphical updates, expanded music, and sound effects. Final Fantasy 1 and 2 for the Famicom, which was a Japan only in '94, had some graphical updates. Final Fantasy for the WonderSwan Color in 2000 had some background images and in-battle scenes and redrawn sprites. Origins, which was for the PlayStation. All new detailed graphics, remix soundtrack, FMV sequences, art galleries, blah, blah, blah. Dawn of Souls. We had the mobile phone version, the PSP version, the Virtual Console version, an iOS version, a Windows Phone version, and an Android phone version. Final Fantasy has been well received by critics and commercially successful. The original release sold all 400,000 copies. As of March 31st, the game, including all releases, had shipped March 31st, 2003, the game had shipped 1.99 million copies worldwide, with 1.2 million of those being shipped in Japan and 780,000 abroad. As of November 19th, 2007, the PSP version sold 140,000 copies. In March 2006, it appeared. Final Fantasy appeared in the Famitsu Top 100 Game list, where readers voted it the 63rd best game of all time. GameFAQs users made a similar list in 2005, which ranked Final Fantasy 76th. It was rated the 49th best game made on the Nintendo in Nintendo Power's Top 200 Games list. In August 2008, Nintendo Power ranked it the 19th best NES video game, praising it for setting up the basics of console role-playing games along with Dragon Warrior, and citing examples such as epic stories, leveling up, random battles, and character classes. Editors at IGN ranked it the 11th best game on the console, calling the game's class system diverse and praising its convenient use of vehicles as a means of traveling across the world map. Final Fantasy was one of the most influential early console RPGs and played a major role in legitimizing and popularizing the genre. According to Matt, excuse me for butchering this, Casa Messina, Final Fantasy's storyline had a deeper and more engaging story than the original Dragon Quest, or Dragon Warrior here in the States. Modern critics have pointed out that the game is poorly paced by contemporary standards and involves much more time wandering in search of random battle encounters to raise their experience levels and money than it does exploring and solving problems. Other reviewers find the level building and exploration portions of the game the most amusing ones. In '87, Famitsu initially described the original Final Fantasy as one of many that imitated the Dragon Quest formula. The game is considered by some to be the weakest and most difficult installment of the series. Subsequent versions have garnered mostly favorable reviews in the media. IGN enjoyed the WonderSwan version. Famitsu scored at 30 out of 40. Origins was generally well received. GamePro said the music was fantastic and the graphics had a suitable retro cuteness to them. Dawn of Souls, mostly positive. PSP version, not as critically successful as the previous version. GameSpot's Kevin Van Ord cited the visuals as its strongest enhancement, but stated that the additional random enemy encounters and updated graphics did not add much to the value. The theme song that plays when the player's characters first cross the bridge from Corneria has become the recurring theme music of the series and has been featured in most numbered Final Fantasy titles except for 13. Final Fantasy was also the basis for the series finale of a video game themed cartoon series, Captain N the Game Master, entitled The Fractured Fantasy of Captain N. 8-Bit Theater, created by Brian Clevenger, parodies the game and has become very popular since it started in March 2001. The game has spawned 2 direct crossover prequels on the PSP, Dissidia Final Fantasy and Dissidia 12 Final Fantasy. Warrior of Light, based on Yoshitaka Amano's designed lead character, and Garland are the respective hero and villain representing Final Fantasy. Warrior of Light, voiced by Grant George in the English version, while Garland is voiced by Christopher Sabat in the English version. Both games add background information to the world of Final Fantasy. For instance, Dissidia 12 names the world of Final Fantasy World A in order to distinguish it from World B, the world of Dissidia. And this is very long. This is probably our longest one yet, and I hope I recorded enough video for it. But it's a fantastic game. If this game had not existed, I probably would not be as much into RPGs as I currently am. I can play this game blindfolded, eyes closed. There's actually an open challenge over at the LowBiasGaming sites now. Just pick me a party. I don't care what it is. Pick it, I'll play through the game, I'll beat it. Do not care. Class change, whatever. No class change, no problem. Pick me a party, I'll beat the game. Anyway. Yeah, I absolutely love Final Fantasy. This is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite in the series, just because it was the springboard for everything. I beat this when I was a kid on the NES. No save states, no saving in dungeons, none of that. Didn't have a game genie. It's just, you just did it. And it took a long time, and I was so excited when I finally had done it. But, yeah. Fantastic game. Wonderful music. The graphics are great. The story, yeah, it's pretty bland. But you know what? It's an early console RPG. Most of their stories are bland. So, and this is done. Let's play it over at the website, and was one of the launch titles for our for the Final Fantasy Dragon Warrior Mega Man X Let's Play series, of which most of the Final Fantasy games, about half of what I'm going to be doing, are done. Dragon Warrior's also about half, and all of the Mega Man X games are done, recorded, and complete. Little plug there, you know. So, if you want to see the evolution of Final Fantasy, pop over to the website. It's gonna happen.